get started. So today is day 13. Day 13 out of 15. 2 more days after today. That is crazy. And it is Tuesday, June 17th. So I'm going to go ahead and write up here that this is going to be our answer key. And for your do now, I gave you this little worksheet with a bunch of already solved compound inequalities, some ands and some ors. And we are just practicing making sure we know which number goes where and how to graph properly with our shading. So let's start with number 1. Who can properly read what number 1 says? Anybody feel confident?
N equals 1.
Not equals. What's this symbol?
What is that symbol?
Greater than or equal to. Good. So we have n is greater than or equal to 1. And what's the rest say? Here, and we can write that. Sometimes it's nice to know the words to say. I'm going to say n is greater / equal to 1. Greater or equal to, or I guess it would be greater than or equal to.
Okay.
And what does the next part say?
Lesser than.
N
Is lesser than 5.
Good. N is less than 5. Good. So, N is less than 5. So, first thing we need to decide is which number do we write first? The 1. That's a smaller one. So, I'm going to put 1 here, which means 5 will go next. Now my circle for 1, will I keep it open or will I shade it in? Shade it in. Why are we shading this one? Yes, because of that line. Because it's not just greater than, it's greater than or equal to. So we shade that in. Now 5, do I shade my circle or leave it open? Leave it open. We don't include 5. And where do I shade my graph? In the middle. Very good. So that's number 1. Let's look at number 2. Can somebody read this to me?
One out again, girls.
Okay.
Oh,
Number 2.
N is lesser. N is
Greater. Okay.
Minus -2.
N is greater than -2 and
N is lesser
less than or equal to 3. Good. Now, I'll tell you what, no matter how many times I teach this class, I always hear people say less than or greater than instead of equal to. You can't have less than or greater than. You have less than or equal to, which is tricky. These are tricky to say. It's kind of a tongue twister. So, which number goes first? Yes, my -2, my -2. So 3 goes next. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my circles. -2, open or close? Open. 3, open or close? Closed. Good. And that's because of the equal. Now, where do I shade? In the middle. Good. So that is number 2. Okay. Number 3. Who can read this one? Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yes, n is greater than 5 and n is less than or equal to 12. A lot of stuff here. Which number goes first? 5. And then 12. Now 5. Open or close? Open. 12. Open or close? Closed. Good. And that's because of the equal to, that line. And where do we shade? Middle. Good. Okay, last one. Who can read this one? Number 4.
N is greater than or equal to negative 17.
Perfect.
And n is the same, less than or equal to 25.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, which number goes first?
17.
Yes, negative 17 and 25. Now my circles. Negative 17, open or closed? Both closed. Yes, they both have the or equal to. Good. So we close them both. Where do we shade? In the middle. Good job, guys. Okay, so there's all of our and compound inequalities. They're all shaded in the middle. That is perfect. Okay, now let's look at the or inequalities. Number 5. Who can read this one? You got it, Jacqueline? Was your hand up? Good. Perfect. Good, good. N is greater than 4 or n is less than or equal to negative 1. Which number goes first? Negative 1. So 4 is next. Now, negative 1, is that circle open or closed? Closed. Good. That or equal to tells us that. And 4, open or closed? Open. Now, where do I shade? Outside. Yes. You can see negative 1 is pointing that way. 4 is pointing this way. They point away from each other, so we shade on the outside.
Okay, hold on.
Holding.
Okay.
So the number goes with the sign in the inequality. So I have n is greater than 4,
Right.
and since 4 is here, we want to shade where it's greater than 4.
Because of the numbers, because of where the numbers go,
Yes, yes, because of where the numbers go.
of the number line.
Yes.
Okay.
We have n is greater than 4, so since 4 is bigger, we put it here.
Right.
It's greater, so we're shading where the numbers get bigger, greater. So we're shading out there. Then n is less than or equal to negative 1.
Right.
Less goes that way.
Is
Yes.
it because of the or?
Yes, it's because of the or, but it's also because of the signs.
Yeah, I know the signs, but up there we did the same because it's and.
Yes.
And now that it's or.
Yes.
It goes the opposite way.
Mm-hmm. So and goes inside, or goes outside. Yes. Good. Okay, let's look at number 6. N is less than -3, or N is greater than or equal to 2. Which number goes first? Oh, I got you guys with this one. -3. Guys, I know 3 is bigger than 2, but a negative number is always smaller than a positive. This is -3. -3. So, remember on your number line, let's see. I'm going to draw a little number line. If this is 0, 2 would be 1, 2. There's 2. -1, -2, -3 is over here. +3 is here, but this is -3. So -3 is smaller. That'll go first. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so which number goes first? -3. Then 2 goes here. I know those negatives, they get us. Now, -3, open or close circle? Open. And 2, open or close? Closed. Good. And where do I shade? Outside. Good. Very good. Yes. Here, let me pause.
That's all.
Awesome. Okay, so we've got that. That was number 6.
All right.
Now, number 7. N is less than or equal to 15, or N is greater than or equal to 43. Good. Which number goes first? 15. And 43 is next. Close that one. 43, open or close? Closed. Where do I shade? Outside. Good. Very good. Nice. Okay, last one. Number 8. N is, what is this? Greater. N is greater than 12, or N is less than or equal to 9. Good. Which number goes first? 9 and 12. Now 9, open circle or closed?
Close.
Closed. Good. 12, open or closed?
It stays open.
Stays open. And my shading?
Which way?
Where do I shade? Outside. Good job. Okay, guys, that's awesome. That is our do now. And we've got our answers. Wonderful. Okay, guys. So, I'd say that's pretty good for inequalities. And let me just share my thought process with you guys about how we're going to do the rest of this term, because we're on day 13 and we got 15 days. So, I am not going to give you a quiz over this. In fact, I'm not going to give you any more quizzes because we're just not going to have enough time to be adequately prepared. It wouldn't be fair. So, what I'm taking as your quiz is that worksheet yesterday. So if you didn't finish that, make sure that you get that turned in by Friday. Yes, that one, the inequalities worksheet. I think everybody else turned that in. Oh, are you done with it?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect, you can turn it into the tray. Yep, that would be perfect. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna say, Unit 3, we looked at it, we learned it, we're moving on. I wanna show you the last part of pre-algebra so that you've been at least introduced to everything before Algebra 1. So let me pause my screen for a minute and I'm going to grab my notes for Unit 4. Okay, so I have now passed out graph paper and we are going to title this page Unit 4 Graphing. 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 And we're going to start by labeling all the things on the graph just to make sure we know what everything is called, we know how to talk about it, and all that good stuff. Now, when we get to graphing, which we're doing now, and this will continue all the way through Algebra 1, Algebra 2, some geometry, I color code my graphs in a particular way, so as you move on to higher levels, if you like colors in your notes, I would try to use the same colors that I am. I use red and blue. Red for X, blue for Y. That way, your notes, you won't get your X and Y mixed up. So, first on a graph, this here, this is a graph. That's what we call this. So I'm just going to point to it here and say this is a graph. That's a graph. Now on a graph we have a line that goes up and down and a line that goes left to right. The line going up and down is called the y-axis. So we're going to label that with blue. This is the y-axis. And sometimes it helps just to make that line blue. That's the y-axis. And the other line is the x-axis. So I'm going to highlight that and write x-axis. Okay. We have an x-axis and a y-axis on our graph. Now today we are going to talk about something that maybe you've heard of before. Has anyone heard the word coordinate? Coordinate. Does that sound familiar to anybody, or is this brand new? Sound familiar? Okay, so what we're going to do is below our graph, I'm going to write the word coordinate. C-O-O-R-D-I-N-A-T-E. Coordinate. So, a coordinate is a fancy word for a location. It tells you where something is on the graph. So I'm going to write a little definition. Coordinate tells you a location where a point is on a graph. Okay. So, a coordinate is made up of two numbers, and it's always written in parentheses, like this, with a comma in the middle. The first number is always the x value. The second number is always a y value. This will never change. It will always be x first, then y. X, y, x, y. So, here's how we use coordinates. For example, if I'm going to use a sticky note for this part, and you all should still have sticky notes at your tables, but I want to make this slightly separate. We're going to name some coordinates. And I'm going to start by calling my first one A. And I'm going to put a parenthesis here. And let's do how about 3, 4? 3, 4 in parentheses. So if my coordinate is 3, 4, and I know that a coordinate is written as x, y, which number is my x value? 3. So we're going to label that x over the 3. And what would my y value be? 4. So I'm going to label my y, or my 4, with a y. Now, the x-axis we see is the red line that goes from left to right. So here's how we put a coordinate on a graph. I know my x value is 3, so I'm going to start right here in the middle, and I'm going to find 3 on the x-axis. So if I go to the left, you'll see we're in negative numbers. So I want to go to the right. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm at 3 on the x-axis. Now my y value is 4. So from here, I want to go up 4 spaces on the y-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is what we would label point A. So that's how we use it. So you start by going over to the x value, and then you go up or down for the y value. So let's make another one, B. Maybe we do 3, 2. So what's my x value for point B? 3 again. What's my y value? 2. So for point B, we will go over 3 on the x-axis. And where will I go for 2 on the y-axis? Up or down? Up. I'm going to go up 1, 2. And you can see now, this is my point B. It lines up with 3 on the x-axis. It lines up with 2 on the y-axis. Now I'll give you another one. C. Let's do -4, 3. For point C, what's my x value? -4. And what's my y value? 3. So for point A and point B, we went over to the right towards the positive numbers to find +3. since we have a negative number now on our x-axis, we're going to still start here in the middle, but instead of going to the right to positive 4, we're going to go to the left. We're going to find negative 4 right here. So here I am at negative 4. And then we go up 3. Good. Our y value is 3, so I'm still going to go up 1, 2, 3 to line up with 3 on the y-axis. And that's point C. Very good. Okay. How about, what if I give you 2, negative 2? How would I graph point D? Okay, so 2 to the right on the x-axis and 2 down on the y. Good. So this would be point D. There you go. X, y. Good, good, good. Okay, now I want to see if you guys can do this one. How about negative 5, negative 2? Now we have 2 negatives. Okay. For point E, if I start in the middle right here at 0, where will I go first? Yes, we're going to go left to negative 5 and down 2 to negative 2. Good. All right, so there are some points, some coordinates, and that's how we use them on a graph. That's not too bad, is it? Not too bad. It's just like following a map and telling you where to go. So now let's see. I want to show you one that I think mixes people up a lot. Here's point F. 0, 0. Where do you think 0, 0 would be? Right in the middle. Because if I'm not going over 1 or negative 1 or up 1 or down 1, I'm just at 0. That middle point is 0, 0. Yes. So this would be point F. Good. Very, very good. Okay, X and Y. Okay. Now, what if I gave you 0, 6? If my X value is 0 and my Y value is 6, how will I graph this point? Yeah, I'm not going to move to the left or right because my X value is 0. So I stay at 0. My Y value says to go up 6. So that's what we do. There is point G. Perfect. And I'll give you one more. H. What about 4, 0? How would I graph this point? So my x value comes first, that's 4. To graph my x value, where do I need to go? Up, down, left, or right? To the right. Remember, x goes left to right, y goes up and down. So if our x value is 4, we need to find 4 on the x-axis. We do that first. Now if our y is 0, it's going to stay right here. Yeah, so this here would be point H. Okay. Now that can be a little tricky.
Yeah.
It can, it sure can. So here's what I would like us to do. I've shown you a few examples, but I want to write a guide to help us. So if you think I got this, don't worry about writing it, but I want to give this just so everybody can see kind of the thought process we use when we graph a point. So, how to graph a coordinate. X, Y. And I'll zoom in on this. So, first, step 1 is that we are going to identify the x value, and we will move to the left or right to find where the x goes. So, x value first. X value first, and that's from left to right. And what I'm going to put here is that 0 is in the middle. Okay, you move to the right for positive numbers. You move to the left for negative numbers. Now, if writing this on a sticky note is too small, you're welcome to do it on a piece of paper. I was just trying to keep it on this. And once we've graphed the x value, the second step is the y value. And remember, your y value is not left to right. That's up and down. So my 0 is in the middle. And we go up for positive numbers. And down for negative numbers. Okay. So if that's something that you find helpful, write it down. You can always use that as a guide to help you. Okay. So, here's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to write some coordinates, and I want you guys to practice putting them on your graphs. I'll give you a few minutes to plot them all, and we'll see if we got them. So I'm gonna leave that up. Is anybody still copying this note? I can leave it up. Diane, are you still copying that? Oh no, you're fine. I just wanted to make sure I didn't take it away if you needed it still. Okay, so on this next graph right here, I want you guys, I'm going to write some coordinates. I want you to graph them. And I'm going to give you a couple. So let's see, do it on this, the empty graph. And I'll start with the next letter in the alphabet, I. Let's do 0, 2, J, 5, 3, K, -3. Let's see. Okay, so try to graph these points on your own. You're welcome to, you know, look at each other's work and see if you guys are going in the same direction, or if you want this to be more of a challenge for yourself, that's fine with me too. But I want you guys to try these. So I'll pause this, and if you need any help, just pop your hand up. Okay. So I am going to go ahead and graph these. Follow along on your paper. If any of yours do not match, tell me, okay? So first we have point I, 0, 2. So my x value is 0, I'm starting there. I'm not gonna move left or right. My y value is 2, so I go up 2. This is point I. There we go. Okay, did everybody get that one? Okay, there we go. Now let's look at point J. My x value is 5, so I go over 5 on the x-axis, and my y value is 3, so I go up 1, 2, 3 from there. 5, 3, 5, 3, point J. Okay, you guys get that one? Good. Okay, point K. Now I have negative values. My x value is -3, so now we're moving to the left 3 to -3 on the x-axis. My y value is -6. So we go down to -6, and that is point K. All right. So far so good, guys? Yes, I love it. Point L, 5 is x, 5 is y. So over 5, up 5. Nice. There we go. That's L. And the last one is M. X is -4. Y is +6. So over -4 and up 6. Good. Okay, did we miss any? We got them all? Yes. Yes. Okay, so that is how we graph coordinates. That's not so bad. I love it. Okay, so I'm going to put that here just so I know that that's kind of my key for that graph. And there is for my first one. And now we need to make sure we can do this in the opposite way. So we're going to start with points, and now we have to name them. So I'm going to give you some points on this graph. Oh, that's okay. You can move to the next one if you want. No problem. So now I am going to put some points here, just randomly. Randomly. Okay. So we're going to start with point A. Point A. If I want to name a point, I'm going to put myself some parentheses here. And I want to see, where does A line up with the x-axis? Now, this part can start to feel a little bit confusing because when I'm trying to see where A lines up with the x-axis, I'm looking on the x-axis left to right, but, yes? -4, yes, but I need to be tracing. You don't have to draw these dotted lines, but I'm showing you this is where I'm finding the x value. -4. So that's my x value, and my y would be 5. Good. I can see that it lines up with 5 on the y-axis. Perfect. How about point B? I'm going to give myself parentheses. 5 is my x. Good. 3 is y. Perfect. How about, let me make some parentheses for C. Point C is right here. Where does point C line up on the x-axis? 2. I see it lines up with 2, so that's my x value. And how about the y-axis? Good, -4. Wonderful. -4. Okay. Now, oops. Point D. Where's point D? 0, 0. Yes, if it's right in the middle, it's just 0, 0. Because I didn't move to the left or right, and I didn't move up or down. It's just right there at 0. That's my starting point. So, 0, 0. Okay, how about point E? 2 is where it lines up on the x, and my y is 6. Good. Good. Okay, last one, F. -5 and -5 again. Good. You guys just catch on to stuff so quickly. It's awesome. -5, -5. Okay, so we can do it both ways. And that didn't take you any time at all. That's awesome, guys. I love it. Okay, well, that's really all we needed to make sure we got to today. You guys are just super fast. I mean, really, I don't think I've ever had a pre-algebra class that has caught on to stuff this quickly. You guys are incredible. So, here is what your exit ticket will be. And I will make copies. So right now, while I'm making the exit ticket, if you need, if you're wanting to take a little break, bathroom, drink, anything like that, it will take me a minute to make the copies. But what I will do, I'll leave this up, is I'm going to give you a graph. And on that graph, you will be labeling some coordinates. I'll give you some clear directions before that. So, let me just make this. Get some scissors. Alright. So I'm going to make it right here in front of you. This will be day 13 exit ticket. And I'll give you a spot for your name. Yes, I will be making copies of this. Yes, so you're welcome to begin working on a separate sheet if you like, but I will make copies for everybody. Just got to make it first. So, we're going to start by saying, let's see, plot each coordinate and label it on the graph below. So, and we'll have point A, B, C, D. Let's see. Okay, so you'll be plotting those points where you'll make the dot and make sure you label A, B, C, and D. And then I want you to name the points that are already on the graph by telling me the X value and the Y value. So I'm going to, let's do that on a separate one. Well, that's tricky. I need to get it to fit on the same page. Hang on. Okay. So for this one, I want you to name the coordinates. Oh, you're fine. Go right ahead. Okay, so that's the first part, is you're going to plot the coordinates, and then the second part, you're going to have this where you fill in the correct numbers. So you'll see, where does this point line up on the x-axis, where does it line up on the y-axis. So fill in the blanks for each X value and Y value. On the graph. Okay, so I am going to run some copies. That way you have this and you're not trying to just copy it yourself. Okay, and I'm going to tape these on here. Watching me do some arts and crafts. Alright. So there's that. So this is question number 1 basically, and this is number 2. Okay, I will be right back with this, and when you finish you are free to go. Now this is just like a regular exit ticket. It'll be due on Friday, but I'm sure you can finish it today. Let me just end this recording. That'll be it today.